you guys want to stay up to date with my exclusive videos, make sure that you click the bell on the side to get notified. Here's the video. Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris Bonner here, Overtime Athletes. Want to address a question from one of our friends in the comments. He says, do I have a plyometric or progression for boxers or anybody who's MMA? Now, MMA, obviously, boxing is very different, you know, but what he's referring to is striking. So what I'll refer to in this video, because MMA encapsulates an entire, there's so many different movements in that, but as far as striking goes, as far as punching, and kicking will obviously carry over as well, but as far as just striking and being able to get the most power that you can out of a punch and be able to get a little bit of quickness on it, you can very well progress it and train it inside the gym. Let me first say, when it comes to throwing a punch, the efficiency and the way that you're able to snap it is first, I should recommend you guys being very good at your technique. You could take a guy who's never thrown a punch before in his life and you put a pair of gloves on him, he could be strong as hell. But if he doesn't know how to throw a punch properly, there's not going to be too much power behind that. And anybody who fights know this, obviously, because it's such an integrated movement. When I'm throwing a cross, right? When I'm throwing a jab, obviously I'm pushing off this, or I'm just snapping it here, just trying to keep my distance, my range. But if I'm driving through, you know, a cross, there's so much associated with this hip, obviously in this lower body when you're throwing it. So first I'll say, hey, it's all about technique. I guarantee you technique is going to trump power in this sport. Obviously you could catch everybody has a puncher's chance. You could catch somebody with a punch, especially on the chin. You never know what can happen. But what I'll say, like I said, first focus on technique, especially if you level out the playing field of power. The guy with more technique is going to throw a harder punch. Now, with that being said, my approach to it, I'll give kind of a general overview so that, you know, I'm not trying to get specific. A lot of you guys try to, you know, nail down one particular thing that I'm trying to say, but it's so encapsulated, or it's so general. You have to really customize it to the particular athlete that you're working with and through that chain of movement where they're weakest at. Some guy could be extremely strong and trying to throw with his upper body, and you may need to focus on that leg power and that integrated movement in the trunk. Right, so with that being said, again, before I start ranting, first what I'll start off with is low-level plyometrics for the lower body. Everything starts with your base. Whenever you're throwing a punch, it starts with that strong base in your legs, right? And what I want to make sure that you have is ample power within that lower body. So what I like, especially with fighters, is a lot of unilateral plyometrics. I do like bilateral, but majority of the time when you're throwing a punch, you're never throwing it on a bilateral, meaning you're both on both legs, but it's a transference of energy. You're usually transferring from one to the other. Rarely are you utilizing both legs, utilizing power out of both legs. Now, bilateral power translates over to unilateral, but I like to focus and get a little more sport specific. So I like to do a lot of single leg broad jumps, a lot of single leg vertical jumps, a lot of single leg deficit, a lot of lateral broad, whether it be unilateral, you know, like I said, and really focusing on producing and absorbing that force. Anything like I said. So for number one, let's work lower body and let's work unilateral. Number two, we want to integrate the trunk. I just gave you a little bit of a rant how everything that we do is very, you know, you're utilizing the power, bang, and I'm able to snap it, right? So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to transfer that energy from this leg, right? Imagine I'm calling upon a signal in my brain to drive off this, to then utilize this, transfer this energy, bang, bang, and I'm coming back. So what I want to do with this trunk is I want to make sure that I'm transferring efficiently. I do that by performing now movements where I'm utilizing my lower body and I'm performing some kind of rotation. So you see me do this with a lot of baseball players, but any kind of alpine ski jumps, right? Where I'm rotating and I'm controlling a weight, right? And I'm here, bang, and I'm coming from here. Or I can even perform some kind of reaction where I then make it ballistic and actually throw the ball. I love ballistic movements for MMA or boxers because you're releasing that ball. So anything where I'm utilizing the legs, right, and I'm adding some kind of integrated movement where I'm rotating, right? Then finally for the upper body, I want to incorporate everything. So I'll segment each part, right? Usually I'll do a series of lower, trunk, and then upper body plyometrics kind of deal. And obviously trunk is just your transference of energy, right? It's because, like I said, you have to be able to produce that punch. It goes through the core. But what I like to do is any form of, you know, if I'm doing some kind of quick tosses, bang, and it's a ballistic toss, whether I'm here, I'm rotating, and now my feet are stuck still. If I'm ever here, right, and I'm saying, hey, I want to utilize just from the trunk up, I'll square my feet, I'll come here and explode as hard as I possibly can. If I want to get my lower body involved, I'll have that person come back, over-exaggerate, push off this leg, and explode as hard as they can. I'll perform soccer throws, anything with the lower body, and most of the the upper body, and most of the upper body movements, plyometrics that I'm performing are ballistic, meaning I'm letting go of the ball. There's no real, you know, eccentric portion of that when I'm having it come back. And then like I said, I integrate it. So I just make sure I perform some kind of single leg with a rotation with some kind of power. I love resistance involved, and that's kind of how I'm performing those as far as power drills for boxer and MMA. I know this is long-winded, but I just wanted to show you guys my approach. Hopefully you're able to take something from it. Hope that helps. I'll have you guys next time.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in becoming a better athlete, whether that be sprinting, jumping, strength, or overall looking like an athlete, go ahead and click the box here on my side and make sure that you subscribe to my videos here so I can keep sending them to you. Holler.